Good morning. Welcome to the Sky Jack podcast, Watching Humans, Point Rays podcast. Today it's mostly the Sky Jack Tree Spirit project because we are going to focus on trees. Say good morning to everybody. Jack of Tree Spirit Project.
Good morning to everybody, Jack on Tree Spirit Project.
Clever.
Yeah. Cliche, but clever.
Morning,
everyone.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. And we'll give a minute or two for people to filter in. Always takes a second. But Jack, you've been busy. Lots of events, lots of activism.
Yeah, thank you. The big deal, and I guess it's a good reminder to mention it now and at the end of the show, but for people who are in the Bay Area and are willing to get to Marin County on the 4th of July for the morning, from about 9:30 to 12:30, we're going to be doing a big action, really educating the public about the topic of this part of this show anyway. Skyler's going to do his thing and then I'll do mine, but we're going to overlap as always. But just teaching people that forests are not the enemy and we don't need to hack into them in order to protect ourselves from wildfire, which is a big deal here in California and the West during our time of climate crisis caused in part by deforestation. So if people want to be involved, please contact me, Jack at treespiritproject.com, or go to my website and there's contact information there. But do so ASAP because today's Tuesday, July 1st, and the action will be July 4th, which is Friday.
Very good. And good morning to Paula, giving us a woohoo.
Good morning, Paula.
I'm in the Bay Area. I've been spending more time in the San Francisco Bay, the San Presidio, and the Marin Headlands, and I'm really enjoying the nature and the density of the plants, the biodiversity. And every time I look at it, I think, according to CAL FIRE, this is unhealthy. Ignore all the wildlife in there having a great time, and the fact that the plants are working together, and that those stupid scientists who first dubbed this biodiversity didn't know what they were talking about. It's very unhealthy. And the other thing, building on what we talked about last week, one of the thoughts we both had.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
That was as bad as it sounded. Won't talk about it. Holy crap.
Focus, man. Focus. The show must go on. Worry about the roof later. We can put a new one up.
So you see a lot of tourists here, of course, coming from everywhere. The Midwest, the South, all the places that on social media are simultaneously claiming that we are bringing the world to an end with all of our gays and hippies and trannies out here. I don't know how any of these people get the bravery to even come out here, but the ones that do often come and enjoy these beautiful settings that I'm talking about. And like Muir Woods, I think you mentioned Muir Woods at the end of last week, which is what made me think about it. All, bus loads of people and car loads of people coming in to enjoy these forests. And simultaneously, we've got, Trump trying to remove protection for 59 billion acres of national parks.
I'm sure it's million, but yeah, 51 million. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, once the number becomes mind-boggling, which is another point. It's like, you kind of tune it out. I'm like, I can't even fathom that. It's like, that's so much destruction. I can't even think about what that looks like. And
Trump being a big nature lover, as we know, and tree hugger,
and his kids
would love nothing more than to privatize, just give all public lands away to private industry, which would give him kickbacks to develop it, cut it, whatever. He's no connection to nature at all. He's the worst of the worst.
Well, this is really my point. His supporters, do you guys like nature or not? You come and you enjoy nature, and then you simultaneously applaud destroying nature because it's good for the economy. You got to stimulate that economy, jobs. The most intelligent species. Again, our purpose. We talked about purpose last week. This ties right into it. Oh, our purpose is to earn a paycheck. Let's destroy the planet because of jobs. That's what makes us superior. But and good morning to you, Susan.
And good morning to you, Lynn, who just texted me. Lynn's a little shy, so I won't use your last name, Lynn. But hi, thanks for coming.
Well, you can use
join the chat if you want.
You can use a fake name and interact with us directly on here if you would like to.
If someone's watching and wants to join the chat, how do they do that?
If I'm going to extend this to other platforms, which is going to allow people to chat with us, whether they're on Facebook or other things like that. Right now, I think all of these people are on YouTube.
Okay. Well, YouTube is good. I mean, that's kind of the more universally accepted one versus Zuckerberg's domain. Good morning, Corinne.
Right. I don't really want to mess with Zuckerberg's domain or Musk's domain.
Well, yes, indeed.
But
you don't want to be a twit.
But being a superior species, I better embrace all that technology. In fact, by next week, why don't we just let AI do the show, Jack? Because that's cool.
I was listening to some car reviewer talk about the Japanese BYD electric car, which is basically competing out competing Tesla, meaning like a really top of the line SUV electric for $30,000 instead of $45,000, $50,000 or $60,000. But they were going through all the you can tell it to open the window. Because who wants to reach over and hit an electronic button to open a window? It's just all this technology, and it's for me, it's making improvements. I mean, electric cars are great, but it's still it's a car, and the way to get it is to put these electronic bells and whistles in that give us make us more like WALL-E in the electric floating Barcalounger, where you just sit there and do nothing except have food injected into your mouth.
It's amazing. It's amazing how long Hollywood has been showing us our future, and we just keep marching right toward it.
Yes, the dystopian future,
the
bad stuff. Yeah, exactly.
So,
where were we?
I also encounter signs that talk about the climate here in San Francisco's unique climate and how weather allows for our special things like the fog bank and cooler temperatures, and how that's disappearing and it's changing because of climate change. And I'm wondering, what are these Trumpsters and other just deniers in general? They don't have to be Trumpsters, but I kind of lump everybody into, if you're willing to be in that much denial, then you're probably in the other amount of denial too. What do they think when they read these? Because these signs have been up for a long time. They didn't get put in during the Biden administration or Obama administration. And interestingly, when I first saw them during Trump's first administration, I wondered if they were going to get taken down. But nevertheless, here it is. And what do these people think as they read these things? And we used to have Sledge on the show, who was very excited about protecting forests, and then simultaneously complained that hunting wasn't allowed in those forests. I'm like, so people have these interesting disconnects with nature, which probably is really what makes you and I upset about this. We enjoy the trees and other plants are nice and they smell good, but they're also homes. And people not understand these are homes. These are literally homes that allow all these other things that we enjoy to exist. They're not separate.
Yeah.
They need each other. You're not just turning a piece of wood that has branches on it into timber. You're taking away homes and taking away a carbon tool that we have. You're taking away something that provides oxygen and cleans the air, and it smells good. It allows for chirping birds and for squirrels and raccoons, which of course now these things are all labeled as pests. So maybe I'm not making a very good point to that community.
Well, I see your nature love, Skyler, and I'll up the ante. I'll go out on a limb to make the metaphor. I was this weekend, Saturday, in a couple different forests with some people surveying, blah blah blah, whatever, in the forest, and I realized I'm definitely, freak city. There was a lot of young Douglas fir trees, 2-3 feet tall, and I mean, everything you said, absolutely. They're far more than just wood and timber and a product, but a place for where animal habitat, where animals live, and insects and complex communities. But I just love them just as a tree, just the way they look, and the new shoots. If you just take a couple of the leaves, tiny little ones, and rub them together and smell them, that smell of a young Douglas fir is this sweet, lemony smell, and I can't explain why, but I love that smell as much as anybody loves cheesecake or vegan cheesecake or coffee or anything. I just love that smell. I've got some duff from a balsam tree in a little pillow a friend gave me 25 years ago. A straight man gave to a straight man a little pillow with balsam duff in it. And I have it on my bed because I love the way it smells. I mean, who does that?
You live in California. Don't pretend to be straight. I mean, everyone in Kansas knows the truth out here.
I have kissed gay men on the lips and lived to tell the tale. Yeah, but anyway, so I'm just, I come off as this hard-ass New Yorker sometimes. People don't know me, and underneath, real soft underbelly, as the phrase goes these days. I just love being around trees. I lie down and smell the dirt, and a real tree-hugging, non-Birkenstock wearing, granola munching tree hugger for sure. So there. Just so you know, folks, if you want to run away, now's the time.
This coastal breeze that I'm enjoying these last weeks sometimes grabs the scent of the plants and brings them to you too. And I was like, man, that smells good. And then I caught myself, nope, that smells unhealthy. Just read. Just read the propaganda. It's all explained, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't smell good. It smells unhealthy. It doesn't look nice either. It looks unhealthy.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. And some people don't even know that quote anymore, what that's from, because they're too young.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that's because you're not as young as some of the other kids.
I didn't learn about that movie until I was older, though. It's never too late, people.
Yeah, it's a big film. 1980, 1979, somewhere in there, maybe even 78. Anyway, moving on. What are we doing here, Skyler?
Well, you have some interesting videos, some interesting articles to share with us, talking about the planned destruction and also the little taste that you gave me. It's humans once again celebrating our ability to destroy.
Yeah.
Without thinking, God, how many centuries do we have to go back to look at humans being excited about what they can do instead of thinking about whether they should do it? I don't know what clip you want to show.
I know just what I want to do, how I want to get into this. I want to start with one short letter, the thing I showed you from the forester, whatever that is, and then a couple of video clips. No, it's kind of, it sets up my whole topic for the day here, which is what I was talking about this weekend and why I'm doing an action along with Corinne. Corinne and Andy are joining on this action. I think Leah is coming too. So she's out there working her little butt off, but listening in usually. And Corinne, by the way,
I want to say,
go ahead. Yeah. No, go, because I'm going to drift.
The comment I threw up on the screen.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead. You want to start there? I had a comment about that.
Go ahead.
And Corinne says, welcome all you ecosexuals. And I would say she's doing that in response to my, waxing poetic and amorous over forest smells and sights and sounds, which you and I could and should do, I guess. But for me, I'm an eco-sensual. It's not sexual. I'm not aroused sexually in the forest, but it's just, okay, get it out of your system. Sexual. He said sexual. Oh, sex, genitals, Skyler. Oh, goodness. So sensual. My mother, it's funny, was a gardener. So she taught me, smell the soil. And yeah, she liked it, but I happened to too. Not because my mother was introducing me to the garden, but I'm just the same way. Just nature does it for me in a big way. Oh, Corinne is saying, no, I'm not calling you ecosexual. No, I'm confessing. Go Good one, lady. Yeah.
I wanted people to know that it's not just our opinions and that we're begging you to use your eyes and your common sense. There is science behind this, and there are scientists who repeatedly prove CAL FIRE and these studies, I guess studies, that indicate that you need to destroy these things for our protection. George Werthner just keeps providing amazing, not just his writing, but he provides examples, specific places with the photos that shows that this shit's not true. We keep making it worse. But because we, the most intelligent species, don't think rationally, we think emotionally, and we just, fear rules all of our decision making. As long as they tap into that fear, then we keep marching toward our doom.
Indeed.
How dare people in CAL FIRE that we call heroes be participants in fooling humans into marching to their doom? I'm not going to call those fucking people heroes. I won't.
And this is where you and I have slightly different takes on it. So yeah, CAL FIRE is actually a partner in the Cal Parks Tomales Bay specific deforestation project that I'm going on about here in Marin. But it's just a microcosm. It's one example of demonizing the forest, as CAL FIRE does. But at the same time, people are complex and full of contradictions, and CAL FIRE will run into a fire that's burning toward your house, even your house, Skyler, and say, we're going to stop that fire and put our lives on the line and put it out. So they can be heroic, but then when they fall back on the other part of their personality, which is to get money for their agency, they make shit up and say the forest is a fuel load and it needs to be managed, which is to say killed and reduced. And so that an agency that can be capable of heroics and people who can do heroic acts can also do monstrous things 95% of the time, because that's how they get their budget for their agency.
It's amazing how well you set me up to show you this graphic. I pulled this for you, Jack, because you'll appreciate this. Because
You're welcome.
Can you read this? So
this is, sure. California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, which is what CAL FIRE is abbreviation for, serves. Oh, here you go. This is what you wanted. Serves and safeguards the people and protects the property and resources of California.
Right. Where do you think I'm going with that?
Oh, Skyler, I wouldn't even want to ruin it by guessing. You just go.
Well, it pretty much clearly explains that the priority isn't the health of the forest. The priority is protecting your homes, which, by the way, were built in forests, and you are, in fact, introducing the threat to the trees.
And built out of forests, built from forests.
Yeah, there's no humans just provide an endless supply of us to be pessimistically humorous, don't they?
It's how I survive in the day. I see this stuff like you, I'm sensitive to it, and I have to use humor. Otherwise, I just want to stick a fork in my head or in my heart.
We just don't ever take the blame. What percent of the time is PG&E starting these fires, or campfires, or gender reveal parties?
I'm sorry, what?
One of the massive parties one of the massive fires a couple of years ago was started by people that needed pyrotechniques at their gender reveal party in the forest.
That's a new interesting one. I did not know that.
Anyway, we got a never-ending supply of those examples as well. The point is, we keep pointing at the trees as though they are the problem, even though we had far less fires back when there were far more trees, which that statement by itself should give people pause to rethink.
And I want to repeat that because it's super important. And it's cyclical. There's this wonderful book, I have an excuse to point this out, called Smokescreen by Dr. Chad Hansen, PhD ecologist with the John Muir Project, which is part of Earth Island Institute here in Berkeley, debunking wildfire myths to save our forests and our climate. Because if we don't save our forests, we are not going to, it's funny, the expression save our climate, meaning mitigate, reduce the global heating or global cooking, if you will, emergency. And that whole thing is just the current shtick is just ignore it, pretend it's not happening, deny it, because otherwise we have to change our behavior, which we don't want to do.
Which makes me want to ask Trumpsters or climate deniers another question. Is like, so do you not think that trees do these things that you were taught in elementary school? Do you not think that leaves participate in photosynthesis? Do you not believe that they cool the air? Do you not think that they provide oxygen? Do you think that it's all a lie? Because if you admit that all that is true, how can you possibly be improving the earth when you're getting rid of those things? Forget all the excuses about jobs and homes and this. How can you possibly be improving our situation if you admit the trees are doing those things for us?
I can put on my red hat to play against and explain, give you an answer to that very simply.
Keep it short.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as we discussed pre-show, like cut the monologues.
I know, I just can't handle you sounding like a Trumpster for very long.
Oh, good point. Climate change is a hoax. It's not. Yeah, Forrest, do what you said. You're right, Mr. White Hat or Blue Hat, whatever you are. But climate change, I mean, to think that we could affect the climate, we little humans on the planet put here by God Almighty, who looks very much like a white man.
Of course.
Yeah, no, that's just a hoax. That's been disproved. And I watch Fox News and they tell me so. Because pumping all this carbon into the air for centuries from all our machinery on this planet, from 350 million Americans and 8 billion humans, that has no effect. And global warming.
Which brings me back to my question. That's fine. Say it's a hoax. It's not fine. I got to get rid of the habit of responding that way. It's not fine, but let's accept that you're going to call it a hoax. Brings me back to my question. So explain how it's a hoax while also believing that trees are important to, or do the things that your evil before Trump came in and was getting rid of science teachers. Your evil science teacher taught you what plants do, including trees.
Again, I know this stuff only too well. I've been in several hours-long conversations with a Proud Boy who was, left
God.
Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, it's a different. You just get different information and choose to believe. Look, let me cut to the chase. It's a religion and a belief system. It's impervious to rational discourse.
There we go.
Analysis.
There we go.
I follow Jim Jones. He's my heroic religious leader. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid and we're going to put on our white tennis shoes and ride off to the comet Kohoutek as it passes the earth. And you're going to try to talk me out of that? What the hell do you know about anything? So you're going to talk about, I mean, do trees sequester carbon and how much? And solar flares are providing the global warming, but it's cyclical. And, we humans don't have effect in the, it's not rational. It's a belief system. And you can't, it's like yelling at somebody to believe in God or not believe in God. It doesn't work. It's not rational discourse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, kind of tragic. And even I'm a mix of things. Like there's a lot of things that, I believe that love exists in a way that's not just, chemical responses in my body that gets me to procreate with the theoretically opposite, say species, opposite gender. I like procreating with the opposite species. That's my thing. But hey, it's San Francisco. It's all good. So yeah, it's just belief system. And how do you get there? It's not necessarily rational, sadly. So can we talk about forests? So folks, I want to read something very carefully, and Skyler's allowing me to share the screen, although he knows better, but I paid him. And I just want to give you this is the dominant belief system now that's being pushed in the media. And I want to read a letter to the editor of a local paper here, written a couple years ago, 3 years ago, by a forester. Look that word up. That's a whole nother discussion, what a forester is. Yeah. Oh, actually, I'll explain what a forester is. A forester is someone who goes into a forest and cuts down trees. That's what a forester is. That's what they do. They don't tend them and plant them. They advocate cutting them down and cut them down. And
kind of like farmers harvest animals.
Right. Ranchers harvest cows and foresters harvest trees. But harvest is such a good word. I like that.
Right.
Well, and do you know this book, Skyler?
No.
This is a classic from years ago. Toxic sludge is good for you. Lies, damn lies in the public relations industry. And this is kind of out of date. This thing is written, I don't know, 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But it's a good reminder about how deep the rot goes and how pervasive it is. So it details Monsanto lying about stuff. And even companies like the Body Shop, which I grew up with in the 1980s in New York. It was this like really, fair trade, organically sourced body products. And they had these shops in New York, and they were selling products for a lot of money. And I just was reading this thing this morning, and how much of that was just scam. I mean, 5% of it was better, and the rest of it was just the usual petrochemical nonsense, but it was marketing. And the whole public relations industry pushed it with advertising, and people believe it. So it really does require critical thinking. But the good news is you don't have to worry about critical thinking anymore, folks. You have AI to do it for you. Problem solved. So may I show this terrifying letter here, which kind of sums up the problem?
No, I'm going to mess it up again. In case we forget,
Yeah.
because there's another interesting tie-in to last week, human purpose.
Please.
And the idea that when your home burns down, you've lost everything. You know, the newspapers love to shine a light on human misery and suffering and the drama of, oh my God, you know, everything I had was in that house. Everything that was me was in that house. Doesn't that shine a light on how purposeless you are, or how purposeless we are, when you define yourself with material possessions in order? It's like an accumulation of validation. It's like, look what I've done. I do matter. Look around my house. Or now, you know, with social media, look at my house on Facebook and click like to validate that I had a meaningful existence, when in fact the animals that are doing meaningful things and actually providing an inherent purpose on this planet are having their homes destroyed because of our homes being built in their homes. You know, our homes are the greater source of heat that cause fires to burn in an unnatural way, that cause trees that could survive a normal forest fire. Not be, I'm not saying they don't get damaged, but can actually survive and continue. That gets taken out of the picture because our homes are now there, and there's all this shit inside of our homes that cause the fire to become more intense and get bigger. And then the forest fire continues on. But the only thing that matters is that the human being's lost his identity.
I feel seen. Meaning, I would agree with you, but that critique hits too close to home. I like my things, Skyler. I have my computer and my...
Well, it's not that I'm not guilty to an extent, and it's not that you aren't guilty to an extent, but we still, guilty or not guilty, doesn't mean that we shouldn't reflect on it. And which brings us back to CAL FIRE's description of their own services. We're here to protect your home, not to protect forests. We're here to protect your home.
And this is, you know, the issue in our culture of seeing ourselves as separate from nature. You know, there's nature,
which makes us civilized.
Right. There's nature, and then there's civilization, and those are separated because nature basically is dangerous. I've had people come in when I was making tree spirit photographs, like the one behind me. People, one woman, I mean, God bless her, she was trying to contribute, but she said, usually Jack gave a little talk at the beginning of each photo shoot, warning people about, hey, we're going to go in the woods now, and there's poison oak. There could be rattlesnakes here in California, ticks, fleas, you know, metal. It was like, we do a whole 30-minute lecture about how dangerous it is to go, you know, lie down next to a tree. And I said, I appreciate the gesture. That's not what's going to happen here. No.
Isn't that a bitch when life still exists inside of forests?
and there, you know, there are dangers in the forest. It is a lot safer to sit on your couch. It is absolutely, as long as you don't breathe the, you know, the toxins coming out of your carpet and your, you know, vinyl drapes or whatever. Yeah. It's dangerous.
I understand your comment, Karen, but you understand what we're saying, right?
My house is not my identity, but I like having a place to live. Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And yet we, as the superior species, are the species that can't live like every other species on the planet and have to chop down other homes before we begin building ours. That by itself, big problem, pretty big problem.
And I will go against my own grain sometimes and give a shout out to Native Americans. You know, humans used to live a lot closer to the land and did a whole bunch less damage. Not perfect, and still at war and doing things and killing, but weren't actively destroying the environment the way we civilized, to use your word there, Skyler, great word.
Bingo.
The way we civilized humans do.
Those people who were closer to nature were savages because of their closest to nature, while we are civilized because of our distance from nature.
Right.
I
So
mean,
people watching our show get that. Yeah. Damn libtards. Okay.
I finally am done. Go
Oh yeah, right. You're exhausted. You have nothing more.
for a few seconds. So take this opening.
Yeah. Jump. Okay. Sharing screen. Okay. Let me know if you can see what I can see. Yes, the reader's forum. So, thank you. Very good. So I'll do this carefully. Unhealthy forests in need of beneficial management.
Where's this
really,
from? Where's this from?
Thank you. This is the Marin Independent Journal.
Oh God.
Well, they just published a letter, and this is because I had written a column that they published saying the opposite of this. So I feel like flashing a thing that says bullshit on top of this, but we'll and please jump in with commentary any moment you want. Just interrupt.
Okay, we'll preface it. Warning everyone, we don't agree with what Jack's about to read.
Right. So this is written by a forester. I'll give his name at the end, but it's not the point. It's the idea. It's not the man.
So it's a person in a spot of authority spreading these lies.
Well, he identifies himself in that respect. So we'll get into it. In their recently published Marin Voice Commentary, Renee Voss, who is a friend and an attorney who I agree with, and Chad Hansen, who's the author of this book, provided a thoughtful wildfire discussion, which was entitled, Make Sure Fuel Reductions, think about this, make sure fuel reductions don't increase risk of catastrophic wildfire. So that's our point of view, which is when you go in and cut down trees in a forest, you increase the risk of catastrophic wildfire.
Right.
So this man is now going to critique that previous letter. If you follow along, I'm reading this slowly, people can digest. Now he admits, which is so interesting, he admits that what they said is right, but then he disagrees with it. So he starts saying,
he admits it.
well, you tell me. You're reading this for the first time, but I'm reading it for the 20th time.
Okay.
Wind is certainly a factor in rapid fire spread.
And I can stop you right there, can I?
Please.
What allows wind to move more freely through a forest?
Cutting down lots of trees and thinning the forest.
Thank you.
Right. So just for people to understand.
Can the rest of the most intelligent species wrap their heads around that?
It's Skyler. Can we just draw this letter out to 14 hours and just slow motion broadcast it constantly on CNN? You know,
this is why we don't bother to prepare anymore, because Jack's got quite a few articles he sent my way, and we're not going to get through this one probably, right?
We need another show to read one 200-word letter. Right.
Remember, we didn't even get through the advertisement of Kiss the Ground.
Well, but we're having fun, aren't we? And then we're going to die. Wind is certainly a factor in rapid fire spread. And second point, home hardening can be key to surviving wildfire in your neighborhood. So home hardening means making your home harder for a shower of embers from any nearby fire, from any source, to ignite your house.
And by the way, you get to ignore all of the invasive, decorative, flammable plants that you chose to put in your yard. Focus on the forest as the problem.
I think Skyler is being, it's hard to tell, but I think he's being sarcastic again.
Was that really hard to tell?
I'm teasing, man. Just you and me. Our go-to is sarcasm to survive this world. But now he says, now, however, which means I'm going to contradict everything I just said, which is, yeah, wind and home hardening, but here's the real problem. As a registered, I love this. He identifies his credential. He's a registered professional forester.
Say it again, please. Say it again.
However, as a registered professional forester in California, I can tell you.
Which you defined earlier as?
A forester is someone who's trained to cut down trees.
And so he actually condemned himself.
He's not an ecologist. He hasn't studied ecology, which, I mean, it's amazing to me that people can become PhD ecologists and then still advocate for this stuff, because, you know, that's where you get a job. But he's not just a professional forester. He's not just a registered forester. He's a registered professional forester. Jack is a global bullshit artist extraordinaire and certified as such.
Real quick, because as you pointed out earlier, forester sounds nicer than it is, and the most intelligent species doesn't bother to find out what forester actually does mean. So once again, Jack, tell us, what does forester mean?
Logging consultant, logging industry consultant, LIC, LIC.
Okay, so this guy, from our
Thank
point of view, just called himself out. You make your money figuring out how to kill forests, but
But
yeah,
the thing is, the average person, including me, 15 years ago, before George Werthner, of one of us few people, but he was a key player. He wrote a book, a compendium of other articles called Wildfire, kind of one of the Bibles about all this stuff. 15 years ago, that's how far ahead of me George was, and as a teacher.
a century of forest mismanagement. Didn't he write that too?
I believe so. I didn't get that one and own it, so I don't remember it as well. Corinna's like, come on, frickers, just read the frickin' letter. No, but we have to parse it so people don't believe it, Corinne. You see, otherwise you just read the lies. I'll continue.
I thought we were making important points right there. Sorry.
I think we are, but she's having fun.
I'll put Paul's comment on instead.
However, as a registered professional forester in California, I can tell you our unhealthy forests, okay, the forests are unhealthy, that's interesting, are suffering from, now here's where it gets tricky, because this isn't all wrong, are suffering from drought, climate change, destructive insects, disease, competition from invasive species, something here for everybody, excessive buildup of ladders of woody debris, neglect, just let me finish the sentence, then we'll get into it, neglect, mismanagement, managed wrong, and last, a century of unnatural fire suppression. So honestly, that's a show. Everything he just touched on right there is a deep topic, and it's not all wrong. But the point is his conclusion. The result is, to do Corinne's thing and read the letter, the result is diminishing biodiversity. That's not actually true.
No.
Loss of wildlife habitat. That's true. Reduced soil moisture. That's true. And increasing fire hazard. That's not so simple as it sounds. Like it or not, and here's the point of this damn letter, to restore our forests, cultural treatment, I don't know what that is. I mean, I'm guessing what he says, but he doesn't define it, or fuels reduction. Fuels reduction, that's cutting down trees. Fuels reduction is essential, or I'm sorry, an understory, removing what he calls the buildup of ladders of woody debris. That means forest duff that then, if there's a ground fire, a ladder fuel then ignites the canopies. So that's, I mean, they've got it parsed, you know, where it's, there's too much of this stuff in the middle. Let's get rid of it. That's fuels reduction. Like it or not, to restore a forest, cultural treatment or fuels reduction is essential on almost every acre. We need to be managing almost every acre of hundreds of millions of acres of California forest. This is forestry, folks. This is the keystone letter. And this is everything that's happening around us. If you pay attention, and Skyler and I do to our own dismay, it's about managing forests and reducing forest cover, which they call thinning, opening up, and they put up even restoration.
Obviously, there's a zillion things to respond to there. I'm gonna mention two.
Please,
if we manage to get past those two in the next 20 minutes.
But I mean, this is important stuff. This is what we need to spend a ton of time on.
So the last thing he talked about was the mismanagement of fire suppression. But what we're talking about here is another form of fire suppression. You want to chop down forests because of your fear of fire.
Exactly. Thank you, Skyler. Now I'm going to repeat that, and then I want you to go at it again, because this is like a huge point which people don't get because they're not paying attention to it. So he says here, the forester, you know, the guy I disagree with, he says the trouble is a century of unnatural fire suppression, meaning that, I mean, even this is part of, it's so bizarrely self-contradictory. The argument is we've unnaturally suppressed a natural forest ecology called wildfire. And he's right. We have. So what they then propose is to manage it with machine tools and cultural burns, meaning we won't want a real wildfire to go, but we'll do little burns and herbicides, all of which are treatments, to your point, which are still all about fire suppression. We're terrified of a natural big wildfire. And of course, as I say that, someone listening to this might say, well, but those do destroy houses, Jack, right? I mean, those are dangerous. And we're going to get into that too, if not on this show, but on another. But it's the point, to Skyler's point, we used to suppress fires. Everyone acknowledges that, but they're still doing it. And that's the part that the other side, the foresters, don't acknowledge. They're still afraid of fire.
What about, he said neglect. I mean, how much does that imply? Neglect, meaning, oh, humans weren't here making sure forests were doing what forests are supposed to do. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. And it really is, it is a super important point. It is every one of these. And yes, Corinne says he's contradicting himself. Indeed, but he doesn't even know it consciously. And I've walked with many people besides just this one guy. I really don't need to pick on him, one guy. It's the idea. There was a woman from Cal Parks who was describing what they're going to do at Tamales Bay with masticators and tribal burns and cultural consultations and all this stuff. She was doing the same thing. This place, we stopped the essential ecological practices, which for her were Native Americans. She was talking about tending the land. The land used to be tended by Native Americans, and we have neglected the land by not tending the forest. The forest needs humans. Forget whether, it doesn't matter whether Native Americans or Europeans here with machine tools. Humans need to tend the forest to keep it healthy. And that is the utter nonsense that I challenge constantly. Forests existed for millions of years without us humans.
As much of an improvement as Native Americans were over modern human beings,
yep,
nature still didn't need them either.
Correct. And also, they did not tend for profit. They did not extract wood or logs or woody debris or slash or any of it to burn in coal-fired plants and call it the biofuels industry or biomass industry. I mean, it's just such a completely different culture. And that's why I love to get under people's skin and call what the white man does with industrialized society, he is red washing by picking on by using the Native American. Look, Native Americans did it. They're still appropriating the culture of Native Americans while doing their own European culture. We're doing what they did. We're tending the land just like they did.
Well, you had a nice opportunity to quote Upton Sinclair there. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. And you don't want to pick on this guy, which is why it's a good thing I'm here, because Tom Gammon, you're a piece of trash. and you are lying to the community in order to continue your destructive livelihood. Your livelihood depends on continuing to destroy forests. So why the hell should we listen to you? It should be a warning bell to people. No matter what you find out later on, you should at least start with a warning bell when someone whose livelihood depends on hurting forests or chopping down forests is telling you we have to chop down forests. At least hear the warning bell.
Yeah. And Corinne says he is demonizing fire suppression and yet promoting it. Another good way of saying he's contradicting himself. And the thing is, I bet this guy, you could hook him up to a polygraph and he'd pass a test saying he believes this. It becomes a belief. And then it's once we have a belief, then it's impervious to penetration without, 1,000 people that he respects telling him otherwise. Yeah. And you have a fan. Look at the most recent comment there, Skyler. Oh, you put it up. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I like working with you. You're going to go places I won't go. And
no, bring pictures of these people. Because as you, ladies and gentlemen, as you walk through Inverness, remember Tom Gammon, who lies to you and makes the forests around you less healthy because of his livelihood. And, he talked about drought. You said, you pointed out parts of this are true.
Yeah.
Guess what? Climate change is taking place. Drought is taking place. And guess what? You chopping down trees does not improve that situation.
Exactly. So to just reiterate again, as I always do what you said, which is great, trees are stressed by drought caused by climate crisis, caused in large part by deforestation, also eating animals, which is also a huge part of deforestation. Trees are stressed, and then they prescribe the sickness, more of the disease of deforestation as the cure.
Hey, so Jack, who's diverting the water that these stressed trees needed? Just name one industry, please.
Let me guess. Dairy and beef industry, maybe?
And hey, who oftentimes gets to move into these newly thinned forests in order to manage other plants that might grow?
To keep right. You need to cut down the grass because those also could burn, and those are dangerous.
Which of course are there now because of the deforestation. But
I think they call it managed herbivory.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, have you heard that one? Herbivory.
No, I actually haven't.
Yeah, the woman whose name will not be mentioned by me, giving the tour, talked about managed herbivory. And I'm like, oh, that sounds very important.
Why don't
Meaning,
you accidentally slip that name out there? So
I won't. Goats and cows. I'm going to keep moving. Goats and cows. We need to manage the grasslands, which are an imported species of a very flammable plant, which was created by cows, need to be managed by more cows.
Ladies and gentlemen, try to remove the timber industry and the livestock industry from these deforestation actions. Try.
Yeah. And by the way, they actually, I realize now that's a really great setup for my next point, sir, which is we manage the timber industry problem by saying we need to cut down more trees. Manage more of the forest, as this man is promoting. And then we need to manage the problem caused by cows by adding more cows. Same problem used as the solution to the problem caused by the problem solution. Yeah. More cows to fix the cow problem, more tree cutting to cause the problem caused by tree cutting.
Read Paula.
Paula, to answer my own question, we got here when we started to pay people to manage forests. Oh, right. What Skyler just said.
Well, and she touches on something else. Anytime, well, it's what Upton Sinclair is talking about. You can't trust anyone anymore when their livelihood depends on something. Like, I don't trust scientists anymore. Scientists are human beings at the end of the day. If they're told to say something that is going to ensure that they continue to receive their paycheck, they are also compromised. Whether they have more units in college or grad school than you do in the science field doesn't change the fact that they are Homo sapiens.
So let me add what I think is a critical addendum to what you just said, because I absolutely believe in science and scientists, but I check not their credentials, I check their funding source, because we need science and we need scientists. And this book I keep holding up is written by a PhD scientist, but he's not getting money from the timber industry or the Forestry Association. Chad Hansen, Dr. Chad Hansen, is an ecologist. He's doing his own research, and I know the guy well enough. Haven't met him, spoken to him, but I believe he is well-intended, and I trust he goes into U.S. Forest Service surveys. By the way, the U.S. Forest Service is a front for the timber industry. Think about that, folks, which was taught to me by George Werthner and others since. But he goes into the data provided by the U.S. Forest Service, from which they manipulate the data, or they pull out a section of a data, of a certain timeline. They pull out this and say, well, you see, there were fewer fires back when we managed, or blah, blah, blah. But they don't look at the timeline here, which shows, no, actually the cycle of seems there's lots of fires right now. It's actually not historically significant. A lot more fires. It seems that way because we're living in a 3-year period where we see a lot of fires, but not historically over a 150-year period. So you can.
That's like the people that would go out right after goats grazed an area or cattle ate and say, "Look, fuel reduction." It's like, no shit. Something got eaten, and a month from now the problem's back. But if you want to do your study right here, right now, and Corinne, I've got to talk about what Corinne said. Just like arborists, there has been such an influx of arborists coming into neighborhoods, preying upon the ignorance of people, chopping down wonderful, magnificent trees that have been there providing for these people in their homes and their neighborhoods all this time, because suddenly, oh, we've discovered what the problem is. You need to chop down that tree. Holy crap. And Jack, isn't it interesting that now, in a time where we have less trees than we've ever had, we have more arborists than we've ever had also?
Arborists, I go back. Some arborists are tree butchers, tree killers, and some arborists, I've seen some who are artists who really do love trees the way we do, and they can actually help a tree. If someone is loving, it's like a gardener can be a destructive, and a gardener is a different thing because that's a civilization thing, an agrarian separation from nature. I'm concerned with wild nature. That's my concern. It's different.
But the boundary's blurred now. We are applying urban landscaping to wild places.
Exactly. And as you said before, we build a house in the woods in the what's called, the fancy term is the WUI, the wildland urban interface. We cut down an acre of trees, put a house in the middle, and then complain about the danger of the forest. Well, who created that problem? Marty Knudsen. Marty, you joined us. Good morning. With this administration, current administration, science will be replaced with religion. Indeed, and it's happening rapidly right now. Hence, gutting, challenging Harvard and silencing the academy, in effect, so that there's nowhere. And of course, getting people to take away their education, so they're really dumbed down, even in public schools. And Paula, would you marry me? She says it all boils down to the failures of capitalism.
Read Corinne's.
No, I won't. You'll read it. I won't read that. No, sorry. Corinne, naughty. Don't follow Skyler Jack.
Can you get away with that?
I'm not going to say it. Now, I
mean, Trump incited an insurrection and got away with it. Trump tells people at his rallies to punch other people and got away with it.
So just because I see we're surprisingly, I've shown one letter.
You didn't show your video. Do you want to say
I know that's what I want to do now. So keep this show moving and lively. So I want to show gosh, I'm going to I want to do two things briefly, and then maybe run a little bit long, but I want to show what a masticator is, folks. I promised this would be an educational show. What's a masticator? What is mastication? I thought it was chewing on a stale steak. You're biting, it's masticating, grinding. Well, it is, but it's also this. So let me broaden this. Okay. Yeah, very good. Thank you. So Southwest Fire Science. Oh, scientist, as you were pointing out.
Christ.
Yeah.
Are those birds?
No, those are not birds.
The reduction of vegetation.
Whoopsie, hang on. Missed the most important part. Mastication treatments.
Mastication involves the reduction of vegetation by grinding, shredding, or chopping.
Okay, that's enough. The reduction of vegetation. Think about those words, folks. You're watching the reduction of vegetation.
Well, we know how much vegetation is supposed to be there, Jack.
Exactly. It's too much vegetation. That forest is wrong. It's overgrown. You'll hear this all the time now. Overgrown forest. I even heard the word, I swear to God, this is repeated by foresters, decadent forest.
Oh.
I swear to God, I'm not making that up. I couldn't make that up. Who would think that? A decadent forest. It has just gotten lazy and sloppy, and it's gotten too big and bushy and messy and eats too much and grows too much. It's decadent.
Fucking greedy.
Continuing. So this is a masticator is a grinding. This is just like a 2-minute bit here, and you can put it onto a lot of different devices.
Properly, mastication treatments reduce fire risk and severity through the rearrangement of canopy, ladder, and surface fuel.
Rearrangement.
Thank you. There you go. Rearrangement of.
Oh my God.
It's just who can come up with that? Rearrange.
Hey, everyone, I'm going to put it out there. Let's wait for Tom's next letter to the editor in which he uses the word decadent forest.
Yeah, I do need to find. This probably exists in a letter I have to find. And anyway, so I do want to. So for me,
it gets worse, right?
Well, it continues. Yeah, and very good, Paula. It seems manly. It's all that masticating and grinding. Yeah, honestly, Paula. I delved into this stuff in my research to show people. I can't just keep saying a masticator because people don't know what that means. When you show it, then you get the gut feeling of it. Like, wow, you're really just running these giant masculine. How proud I am to make this big machinery into the feminine, soft, vulnerable, beautiful, life-producing, feminine, if I will, forest.
Which is what we're being. We're being either feminine or homosexual because we're defending the forest instead of embracing the destruction, right?
Spoken by someone who lives in a homophobic culture where you're not supposed to be vulnerable and express love for anything. Anyway, yes, to your point. So when I continue here with this horror show, we won't run much of this, folks, because it's too disturbing. But the language, just a rearrangement. This is rearranging organic matter. The fact that they have to use those euphemisms proves they're lying and hiding something.
However, it's important to note that in most mastication treatments, the biomass stays on site, so the fuel loading is not reduced, just reconfigured. There are many different types of mastication.
Look at this. Look at this.
Description
I know.
the scope of this video. However, at a basic
That's
level,
fucking crazy.
mastication machines can be categorized as either horizontal shaft, otherwise known as drum masticator.
Oh, and you notice they have very big, hard shafts.
Look at Paula's.
The womanly, and it's in quotes, the womanly forest needs controlling. Indeed. And it's funny that is funny, and it's also profound. It is the masculine controlling, dominating, subjugating, killing the feminine. I mean, and that's what we've done to the planet, right? Well, that's about it. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks, everyone. See ya. Okay, so let's go back to our face.
I don't know how old that tree was, but the things that trees have to go through to get to exist at all, much less grow to that size, and we bring it to an end in seconds because of our superiority, Jack. Our ability to invent things to bring life to an end.
Exactly.
Masculine, man. Woo.
As I say, yeah, Scott, I mean, it's a huge and wonderful topic, and I think we're doing a good show today. It's worth watching for people. It's the we man-age nature. We man-age nature. We turn into the age of man.
Well, boy, an interesting show for the future. If we'd gotten rid of men, would everything have been fine, or would women have adopted the evil parts that we were taking for?
Well, there are plenty of women who, if they want to have any power and do good things in the society, need to become more masculine to rise to, become vice president, or for that matter, I'm thinking of Janet Reno, who was in the Clinton administration, and she was like a tough woman because you had to be, you wouldn't get the job. I just noticed that she had to become a certain way and become harder.
Oh, how about that bag of trash in Alaska, the hunting woman during Bush's time, or Trump's first? I don't know.
Yeah.
People confused.
Who ran for vice president with John McCain?
Yeah.
God, I'm blanking out here. Someone will throw it in the chat. But yeah, I mean, she was a weird mix because she still wanted to be, feminine, but then would talk. Well, yeah, I mean, she played the feminine role exterior. Anyway, I do want to. The last video I have here, it's 60 seconds, and I just want to emphasize and set this up. So this is a video. This picture is going to live in a moment. I filmed this 3 days ago in Point Reyes National Seashore. There was the Woodward Valley fire in 2020. It was a relatively big, technically mixed severity. Some parts burned, like you're looking at trees now that are not totally ash, but they're blackened, and all the canopy was removed from them. It's now starting to grow back in the buds. So the trees weren't destroyed. But to the point, this is a big, uncontrolled wildfire, burned about 5,000 acres. It threatened to burn down a Park Service building, but they did fight it at some point to stop it from getting to the buildings. But this is the thing we're supposed to fear. What I'm going to show you is 60 seconds of what it looks like 5 years after the forest was destroyed in a wildfire they couldn't control. And yes, you want to protect your house. Yes, you don't want a fire to consume your house. Yes, you need to take treatments of your house and home hardening a defensible space. But then they're also saying now with the Tamales Bay project I'm working on, you need to stop fire because it's going to destroy the forest. We need to make it healthy for fire, which is all total nonsense. And here's what a wildfire does. 5 years later, look at a wildfire, the aftermath. And I have the sound off on this because it's just wind on my microphone. So the canopy. Go ahead.
You filmed this.
This is my iPhone 12 at 4K resolution, just showing a spot on a hillside in the middle of a 5,000 acre burn. And so it looks like, oh, this is pretty bad. These trees are burned. The Vision fire looked like this, which is the other Point Reyes fire in 1995, I think that was. So pretty bad, right? Upsetting, folks. I mean, if you care about trees, like, oh, geez, they're burned. But this is what Dr. Chad Hansen and others.
It looks like a woodpecker paradise to me.
Exactly. It is a woodpecker haven. There's nothing wasted in a forest, nothing destroyed. And it's, we don't need masticators.
Some bald eagles might nest up there at the top.
Ospreys. We saw an osprey flying overhead literally in this forest the day I was filming this. So look at what's below in the forest floor, which regenerates quickly. And you see the blackened trunks.
Absolutely.
And then,
Oh, you can't have that. That looks like life.
so look at, these are baby, as I like to call them affectionately, Douglas fir trees. These are the result of a wild, not a prescribed burn, some managed little simulation of a fire, but an uncontrolled big fire that scares the crap out of most humans now. And the media catastrophizes. It's a tree plantation, much better than a tree plantation. Even age stands, but hundreds and hundreds of baby pine trees, because the soil is covered with ash. The canopy cover was exposed. Just want to show that again.
Mm-hmm.
It is just, there are acres of these guys after a burn. The thing that we're afraid of is a regenerative force. Let me stop this video. I could show more, but that's the point. We can talk and wrap up here. Oh, wait a second. Take it back. I got what? This is another 60 seconds from the same spot, just a slightly different angle.
Okay.
Bear with me. Again, just a 60 seconds, and I'll just let it play without sound. Same place. I'm standing in the same place. I just shot a couple different angles. Look at all the growth. A forest of young Douglas fir trees. All over. Blackened tree. So blackened tree in the foreground. I mean, didn't kill the tree because it's got a really thick, bark that resists being, destroying the tree, killing the tree. And then all the greenery everywhere. It's just dead. Canopy's recovering as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing I learned is most of the carbon after a big burn,
Regeneration.
most of the carbon remains in those tree trunks. It doesn't even, I thought, oh, a lot of carbon is terrible when forests burn because it puts so much carbon in the atmosphere. I mean, yeah, it emits a lot of carbon, but it's still a net gain because the regeneration is so massive and pulls so much carbon back out of the air to do what we just saw there, that beautiful tree nursery, not a tree plantation, tree nursery.
Well,
And-
people, I have terrible news for you, Jack. They've already got this one covered. That's going to be too dense of a forest. Those new trees aren't allowed to be growing there so close to the other trees. I'm not joking. What is the what's the state park that I was spending a lot of time in Santa Rosa? Annandale?
Annandale sounds right, but I don't know it well.
Oh yeah. I've filmed a lot of what you filmed and showing them, like, look, nature's got this figured out. And even people that are supposedly nature friendly, they're like, oh no, this is too dense. This is, I'm like, well, this is what nature did. This is what nature did. And it'll figure it out. Maybe part of what we're seeing is a symptom of our mistakes earlier from the previous, fire suppression, which caused a fire to get crazier than it should have. But still, hey, if those trees can't survive there, then nature won't allow them to survive. I mean, nature figures that out way better than people do.
Yes.
That tree.
Far more intelligent than us. Exactly.
Right. I mean,
and Marty throws in the resiliency of nature is mind-boggling indeed.
and then we punish it for being resilient.
I mean, so the point is, I get into our strategy arguments with, what do we tell people? What do we suggest they do? And I say, well, if you say for this specific project, which I want to make a plug again for folks, if you're moved by this and want to join us, join me and Corinne who's here this 4th of July. Today's Tuesday. On Friday, we're going to march and have a banner and do our little shtick and get attention in front of thousands of people in a parade in Marin County. Please join us. If you care about these issues and are willing to put your body on the line, we need to educate people and keep saying all the things that are in this podcast again and again and again to get people to think for themselves and challenge the dominant narrative of we humans we're human doings, not human beings. We need to do something with nature. If we love nature, you need to get out there and pull weeds or manage the forest or reduce the fuels, and always never just trust that nature knows exactly what it's doing, wiser, evolved, sentient, if you will, but certainly doesn't need to be controlled and managed by humans to thrive. And it's funny, Paula says we need protected wild land that isn't parks for humans. Yes, absolutely. And that's actually some national wilderness areas where there's not even lots of trails like in a national park.
Yeah, it's part of my challenge. Part of my frustration with the goat grazing documentation I'm doing is like, it's hard to find anywhere that isn't managed. How do you have a comparison? How do you have the counter study? We won't allow nature to be nature anywhere to provide us with an example to learn from.
A baseline. Yeah.
Which is what's going to happen in Point Reyes, sadly enough, with the bringing back in of cattle. I'm like, any progress we could have witnessed and watch, hey, here's what nature can do when we get the hell out of the way. Oh, time to bring in the cattle. Looks like plants are growing. We better bring that to an end.
Paula, give me a call, would you? Are you, if Paula just says I need to join, I'm borderline agoraphobic. We can talk about that and what might work for you. And if, crowds don't do it for you, let's talk. So give me a call if you're interested. I forget where you are. I thought you were in Oregon or something as opposed to nearby, but yeah, we'd love to have you. And it's a group of fellow forest lovers this Friday. This is what I do, is get people to.
Is this on the homepage of your website?
It's on my event page, but really the best thing to do at this point late in the game is to call me so we can talk and see if there's a role for you. And it may not be.
Do you want your phone number on the screen?
Yeah, I don't mind. 415.
Are you not able to type in here?
No, it's just, really? I can type to you. You're in control of the show. So unless I'm co-hosting, 415. Yeah. 488. 4200. Once again, the number to call is 415-488-4200. There it is. Yeah. So just make a note of that number. Paula, it'd be good to talk anyway, but Corinne says, come with me, Palela chat. There are opportunities to partner with two people are park rangers or two people are herbicide sprayers, and you can kind of work as a team and play if you want to do that. But okay, cool. What are you up in Santa Rosa, I guess?
She knew Annandale.
Yeah, and I've heard of it, but I don't know that. Probably driven by it, but not been in it the way you guys have. In any case, we're 10:07. I kind of want to keep this show relatively tight, Skyler. I think this has been. I'm really enthused about this topic and the fact that we're getting into it and making both critiques specific and general, the broad philosophical as well. I think it's really valuable to people. I hope we can get more playing this. If folks, please like this and make a comment, just a brief comment, like good show or whatever. It helps get more people to see it and be kicked out via the algorithm.
And part of the challenge of us keeping these shows short or getting to the content we wanted to talk about is how much time we have to waste trying to convince human beings to use common sense. We can't even get to the real meat, the scientific parts, because, well, I don't want to use common sense, and I'm going to, as you've alluded to, use religion as my excuse not to use common sense. Which is not to crap on religion entirely. You can be intelligent and be religious, I think.
Well, for me, I would use the word, these are words again, but I would use the word faith or believe in things that are not material. Religion for me is like following a set of rules to get to God or to get to truth. And I resist rules. They can be very helpful and provide structure. But for me, I just go right to the quote unquote spiritual.
Yeah, the idea of believing without seeing could be considered, well, that's, wow, good for you for being able to be, brave enough to fully believe in something. But the problem is faith just gets inserted every time you can't explain something. Oh, you have to have faith.
Well, I think we're talking about another show topic for another day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please, again, subscribe if you haven't to Skyler's Watching Humans channel. Subscribe to my Tree Spirit project. And thanks for coming. And we'll be back next Tuesday with God knows what. Something. Any more from you, sir?
I was going to ask people what they think about interfacing with more social media platforms, but it's kind of funny to ask people that are on this social media platform.
Well, what we're supposed to do, right, is take this and then cut out 60-second highlights from it and throw it on the other SMs. So you and I have been too busy to do that. We should do that, right?
Yeah. Hey, we're looking for interns.
Oh, cool. Right. Social media interns. And Corinne offers to give Paula, obviously Soul Sisters there, a ride. So let's talk, kids. Paula, please reach out to me and I'll connect us with Corinne and we'll have a party.
There's that phone number one last time as I end the show. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here.